We asked you yesterday, what cost the Niners the Super Bowl? 58% of you said special teams. That would be a blocked PAT.
And then the muffed punt.
And a muffed punt.
Yeah.
25% of you said Patrick Mahomes. 9% said Taylor Swift, and 8% said Kyle Shanahan.
Yeah, Shanahan's not taking nearly as much heat as I thought he was.
He's not.
He was going to be.
And I think it's just because, like you said, Chiefs won it. Mahomes is great.
Did you see some of the Niner linemen sniping at each other, though?
No.
Buck sent that to me.
What happened?
Well, there was obviously people are giving the Niners crap about the final one in OT where that third and 4 where they didn't get it, where Chris Jones came untouched.
The one we talked about a lot yesterday.
Yeah.
So some fan came out and said, if Colton McKivitz just does his job there. And then John Feliciano, another Niners lineman, says it wasn't his missed assignment, and you wouldn't have to do a chop block there if the person who was supposed to block him blocked him.
Yeah.
Another lineman, Spencer Burford, hops in and goes, wow, I opened up this app to find out people saying these things. Like, these are all three linemen talking about each other on Twitter, bitching about whose responsibility it was.
The Niner linemen throwing each other under the bus like, it ain't my fault.
And then
blame that guy.
Brandon Ayuk's best friend and girlfriend both go on Instagram to basically say, we're out of here, we're done with San Francisco. And then he goes to clean out his locker, and they're asking him, hey, there was a lot of stuff on social media about you not wanting to be here. And he's like, do you have anything you want to say? And he's like, no. And they're like, well, where do you want to be? He's like, somewhere where I can be a champion.
What?
And that's it.
God.
Like they're in a full-on meltdown.
It's not good.
Well, who's to blame? Surely someone's to blame. Chris Jones wasn't even touched. So it's somebody's fault.
Again,
whose fault is it?
To me, it looked like the right tackle absolutely butchered it. But, again, not knowing what the protection schemes were, first off, whoever called the protection scheme is stupid. It's the most ridiculous thing ever. You don't think on 3rd and 4 down there at the 11 that Spags is bringing the heat, and you run this condensed BS formation where it's hard to tell who's coming, and then you pull the center and you have some sort of weird scheme on the right hand side. I mean, so first of all, it was the play design, but the right guard and tackle, I don't know what they were doing. One of them butchered it.
Well, were those guys the two guys?
Two of them, yes.
Fighting with each other?
Yes.
Okay,
and
so
then
they're both pointing the finger at the other?
Yeah, and then there was a third guy that was chiming in with that too, and then Ayuk's doing his whole thing, and, it's not pretty.
A little bit of a mess.
Yeah, a little bit of a mess. And they've got him for another year, so I don't...
That's what happens when you lose.
Well, and this is kind of like why they say a lot of times that when you lose the Super Bowl, like, it can kind of fall apart on you.
Dude, I was thinking about that today because I was reading about Shanahan, and he's like, he said, we're going to be back better than ever next year. And Kittle said the same thing. And I was sitting there thinking about that going, God, that's got to be hard. These guys pour their heart and souls into this, and it's such a long journey. Every season is its own long ass journey with all kinds of ups and downs. And you get all the way there and lose again like that.
Yep.
And then, obviously time heals all wounds, and you take some time off or whatever, and you get back up on the horse. But that's got to be so...
Dudes are going through it, though, and they're in their feelings, and they're firing all this stuff off.
Well, now they are, but I'm talking about September, August, or whenever they report to camp, July, August.
July.
They got to start. Like, it's go time again, and it's like this such a long process that is probably very hard to do.
That's the worst part about it is, like you said, there's just...
It's one thing if you're super motivated, like let's say the Ravens, they may come in all fired up.
Sure.
Like, hey, we got something to prove, and this is not going to happen to us again. The demoralized Niners, that one would be harder, I would think.
Well, because
you know what it takes, and it's just a long...
and it's just not... I just don't think the average person has a real appreciation for what goes through what goes into a season. From the off season to every one of these guys is playing with... This guy's got a torn rotator cuff. This guy's knee is shredded and needs off-season surgery. This guy's playing with a bad back, and you just go through this just brutal dog days of the season, and you finally get there and you come up one or two plays short. Yeah. You start looking like, you ever have that where you just have a rotten day and you go home and you're just looking and someone's going to get their head bit off? That's what's happening here between Ayuk and between offensive linemen. And look, to say that people are immune to this or should be, trust me, there are people when they watch that film, they're going to look at the right guard, or they're going to look at Buford, they're going to look at at McKivitz, the tackle, and be like, dude, your dumbass cost me a Super Bowl. I put it all on the line out there, and you, especially if it really was a blown assignment, and I think it was, you can pretend all you want that, oh, we're all great teammates. There's going to be hard feelings in that locker room. Unfortunately for the Niners, it's spilling out on Twitter, which is why maybe you just take a couple days off social media, guys.
Yeah, I don't worry about that as much as I worry about come fall,
Yeah.
You said, there's a reason that teams that lose the Super Bowl come back the next year and struggle.
It's just flat.
I mean, the Niners the last time won 6 games.
Yeah.
The next year.
The Eagles fell apart.
And they had a lot of injuries.
Yeah. You're right, because when you win, you're like, man, we're going to do it again. And, we got the motivation. But when you lose, it can be demoralizing, and that S can stick with you for a long time. I think
it's just how you lose, right?
Yeah.
I think the Bills are probably pretty motivated.
I would think
the Ravens are probably pretty motivated. I think the 2 hardest it would be for Kansas City. I mean, just won 2 in a row.
Yep.
How do you? I mean, I don't know that.
Saban talks about this.
That's a whole nother hard.
Yeah, Saban talks about it all the time that he thinks the hardest thing to do is when you get on top and is to stay there.
Well, Andy Reid said that he thanked the Raiders for beating their ass. Remember that? They had won like 5 or 6 in a row, and the Raiders beat him.
Yeah.
And he got in the locker room and he said, man, you cannot take anything for granted. This could spiral easily. They just kicked our ass. Wake up. Yep. And he said that woke him up.
Did.
So, it's just I don't know. It just would be hard. You're Kyle Shanahan. She's like, oh my God, here we go again.
Yep.
And we got to ramp it up. Try this again.
Well, and you got to get some.
It might kill him if they get to another Super Bowl and he loses again. He might be done.
Well, I guarantee he woke up today and heard his O-line and one of his star receivers all chirping, and I guarantee he just put his head down and went, F.
I'm going fishing. I'll see you guys in July.
I'll deal with this tomorrow.